Welcome to our new mini-series, Women at Work.
Brought to you by Freelance Creative Exchange.
We are your hosts, Fanny and Jayce. We are from Creatives at Work.
While running our business, we have met many amazing women along the way.
So we hope to share these inspiring stories about how Singaporean freelancers and entrepreneurs are taking charge and building successful businesses.
So in our pilot episode, we want to share with you about our perspective, both as business owner as well as working mothers.
So as working mothers, we juggle multiple roles in a day. So how do you balance work and family responsibilities, and how does a day look like for you?
That is a very good question. So, pre-circuit breaker, my day is actually quite structured because most of my activity actually surround my boy's schedule. So I have a 12-year-old boy, right? So basically, a normal day, right, is with starting from waking him up from bed, bringing him to school, right, and then after that, I will hopefully. On certain days can't, but hopefully I can do some exercise, and then after that, before I start my day, right, and then midday came, then that's where I will pick him up, right, and then after that I will send him to enrichment classes, then I go back to meetings, so in between there's calls, there's meetings, replying emails. So that's typically how a normal day look like for me, right, fairly structured because because of the schedule, my schedule actually plans around him as well, so a lot of my meetings is in between, right, but then of course during COVID, right, then my schedule start to not being scheduled, not organized, right? So everything comes together. So so it's during that period of time you suddenly feel that you can't remember which day is which because every day is the same. Yeah. So that's probably how a normal day. I guess right now, of course, I think things started to go back, and it's starting to become normal again. So there's this schedule that I need to follow on a daily basis. So maybe next question for me, right? To what extent were you tested during the circuit breaker, and how do you handle looking after kids, right, while working from home?
Well, it was a very difficult situation for me, similarly to a lot of working mothers who are used to going to work in a place. And when you come back home, you know that you can just juggle the kids or do the housework that needs to be done. But during circuit breaker, because everything is confined to one place, so it's very hard to juggle both, your roles as a mother, a caretaker, a working woman, and then plus all the household chores, all the things that you need to run. So it was a very stressful period for me, and I have 3 kids under the age of 5. So one is 1 is 3, and then 1 is 5. So they are extremely needy of my attention. So I have to say it's very difficult. And then to all the working mothers out there who has to juggle multiple roles, I'm still not handling it well. So I really respect working mothers who can find the balance. I'm still struggling to find the balance.
So what is your what's your secret ingredient to overcome all this chaosness that's happening?
So I think the most important thing is you have to set aside time for the different roles that you have to fulfill. So for me, I run my day in 45-minute slot. It used to be 1-hour slots. So I'll have like 12 1-hour slots. And then using that 12-hour slot, you will know what things you can achieve in a day, or things that you can't achieve, you probably has to pass it on to another day. But it helps you to set out a schedule. But from 1 hour, it has now decreased to 45 minutes because my youngest daughter can only handle 45 minutes without me. So I bring out my day into 45-minute slot, and I know what I need to do within that 45 minutes. So I try my best to complete that task within that 45 minutes. So if you have such a structure in place, it's very easy when a client say, when can I receive that proposal? Straight away you will know which 45-minute slot. You probably need 2 or 3 slots for the proposal, but you straight away know which day you probably have that slot, that few slots to complete that, and you can tell your client, okay, next week. And it's not like by the end of the day, but you can't do it. So this is one of the way that I try to structure my days, and see whether I can manage my time properly. Okay, so Jayce, so how do you stay creative and motivated?
I think as a lot of business owner, while we are actually running our daily chores, so sometimes it's really difficult, right, to stay motivated and creative. But I guess if you are doing something that you think is worthwhile doing, right, and that you have a passion, right, or rather I would say you have a purpose in mind, right, so I think staying motivated is probably the easiest, right, because you know what you are doing has an effect or has an impact on other people like us. I think during the circuit breaker or during this period, we really think that we have an added responsibility, right, to actually help everyone, our partners, freelancers, stakeholders, right, to actually stay needed during this period of time. right? And also look for new ways, right?
Yeah.
Because of all this new normal and all this. So we probably need to together, as a community, see how we can actually generate new revenues on top of that, multiple revenues for the company as well as for our freelancers and hopefully for the entire for the industry as well. So I think staying motivated, if you know your purpose, if you know what you are seek to achieve, so I think that's the easiest. I think the more difficult part is actually the creative part, right? So I think you need to have a fresh mind, right, in order to be creative. But again, depending on how you define creative, right? Because to me, I'm not a creative by training. In that sense, I'm not a designer, I'm not a writer, I'm not a video production person, right? So my creative probably apply more in terms of problem solving, right? So I think that is usually the toughest because it is something that you need to think outside the box, or you really have to, tell yourself that, somebody has done it before. Is there another way of doing it? So you keep challenging yourself, right? I think that is the most difficult. But what I actually take a lot of references from is really, looking at some of the mentors, right? Some of the people who have done that before, and then find out how did they overcome the challenge. I think that's kind of helped me to keep the thinking and the creative going. I think the best thing to actually stay creative is not to stop thinking. Right? Once you stop thinking, then that's probably where you find it very difficult to actually look for the next lap. Yeah. But how about yourself? I'm actually quite curious to hear from you as well. So how do you stay creative with all the happening that is happening around you, all the different schedules and things like that?
I think doing things that you love is one way that you can stay creative. For me, I like to watch TV. I like to watch Netflix. And it's actually not just watching, but I like to watch. I like to question myself, why did this particular series get so popular on Netflix? Why is this, for example, like the Korean shows, it is so local, but how did it translate into something which is so universal that, a wide variety of audience, even though it's in a different language, like it. So while doing things that I like to do, I also like to question myself to bring it back to the work that I do every day. So I think this is one way that keeps me, motivated and kind of creative lah. So I'm not a creative person by nature as well, but I love to think of creative way to solve problems. Yeah. So this is one way lah.
So my next question to you is, what is the biggest challenge you ever face, and how do you overcome it?
So the biggest challenge right now is finding time for myself. Okay, the biggest challenge right now is balance. So I'm not sure whether this is because I'm Libra. So finding balance is crucial. But I don't have balance in my life right now because a lot of expats of the different roles are wanting a lot from me, or rather I want to give more but I can't. So finding balance is the biggest challenge I have. But during the circuit breaker, the balance is loop-sided. So my solution to that problem is I divide my days into first half and second half, and I try to motivate myself with things that I like to do. So for example, in the first half of the day, I try to think about coffee because I love coffee. So I know that I'll start the day with a cup of coffee. So that's how I get myself motivated and overcome the challenge of, when I wake up, my kids will be all around, a big mess and things like that. So at the second half of the day, that's when your kids will start to demand. Work starts to come in, calls and things like that, deadlines. So I try to motivate myself by saying, okay, at 5 o'clock, I should have some beverages that I love to drink. So every day I do this. So I guess how do I overcome challenges? You have to set yourself a goal, a target, or something small that can motivate you, and just look towards that motivation and not the challenges.
I think an important part of this is also taking care of yourself, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes you just have to put your needs above everything else, because you need to make sure that you are in the best frame of mind so that you can actually meet the challenges that were to follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like for example, if my kids are started to crawl, look for me, I will quickly go to the toilet and then I'll shout to my husband, "I'm pooping!" And then this is how I segregate a time just for myself. Self-care. So Jayce, who are your role models?
Okay, so in terms of role model, I think I got a few. Actually, in fact, I feel, right, there's always something to learn from everybody, right? So whether from our freelancers, from our partners, from our stakeholders, so everyone could be a role model, right, in different areas. But if let's say you want me to name someone that I really, look forward to meeting, right, and really, kind of follow her on social media and things like that will be the COO of Facebook, Sheryl Sandberg. Right. So basically, I think the two things that I really look towards her, one is she actually able to excel in an industry that is more male dominated, which is the tech industry, right? And then she is one of the C-level. That's one. Second, I think is her inspirational stories about how she managed to do it, right, and not giving up. So I think if you read her book, right, you probably will associate with her a little bit more. So I think that is a role model that I hope that one day, a lot more women would climb to that level, so that we bring more compassionate, compassion. Yeah. So we are more compassionate. Towards one another, right? Yeah. Okay. So how about yourself? I'm just wondering, who's your role model?
My role model, I mean, there are many. Yeah. I mean, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, is definitely one of them. But recently has been a family who has been traveling in a camper van around the world for the past 2 or 3 years, and they have 3 very young kids. So I've been following them on Instagram, and it's inspiring because they choose to do something which is so different, and they choose to plug themselves out from for lack of a better word, from the race and just spend a lot of time for my family. One of the key things why I treat the family as a role models is because how can they spend so much time with their kids in such a small space? Yeah, but this is something that because it's so different from the life that I'm that I'm leading now. So it's just very fresh to see,
But that's because they travel from places to places, right? So even though the place that they are together is small, which is in a van, but the very fact that they are moving from country to countries, shows they are in a different environment every time.
Yeah, but they are stuck in a confined space with the same people. That's the challenge, because maybe for me, I get bored very easily. That's why I like project management, because it's very short and it moves, across different things. But so to be stuck in the place with the same people, but I know it's something that I want to try, I want to do, and I want to break free from everything that is pulling my brains apart. So yeah.
So I guess the current period work for you, because that is always a requirement on the number of people that can be together in one place.
Small number.
Small number. Right.
So Jayce, what are the plans for Creatives at Work in this new normal? So what is the business outlook, and what are the new opportunities that are present?
I always believe, right, in the Chinese word, right? So when they say 危机, right? So when there's always a crisis, there's always an opportunity, right? So even though I know now it's a very difficult time for a lot of people, right? But I think to stay on the positive side, there's also a lot of opportunities that you can look out for, right? So I think if we talk about Creative at Works, I guess for our vision is really to transform, right? How the way that we used to do things, right? I think what COVID has probably taught us is that digitizations is really something that you have to do it, because if not, right, you will just be left behind, right? It kind of just accelerated and made everybody go that way. So now it's not a question of whether should I do it slowly. So incremental is no longer something that you need to do, right? You need to go for the breakthrough. Right. So, which means to say incremental is no longer enough. Yeah. In the past, I think we can still say, let's change a bit here, tweak it and see how it goes, and then we move forward, right? But I think now, we cannot do that already, right? It has to be on digital. If not, there's no way you can do, right? So, I guess for Creative at Works, I think transformation and digitization is very important. So now it's just how do we put that into process, right? And accelerate it across not only just us, but also our freelancer, right? So, but for our freelancers, I think more importantly is actually to look at the new growth area, right? So, although there are some sectors that, has to be shut down because of some reasons and all this, right? But there's also other areas, right, that actually flourish over the last 2 months, right? And increasingly, it will go there, right? So we are actually expecting increase in demand for talent in those areas, that's for sure, right? But I think the challenge is, if you are not in that required area or skill sets, then how do you get in right? So that your skill set is being in demand. Yeah. So a long way to answer a short question is that I think the prospect for CreativesAtWork is quite bright right now. If we can capture the right, the right moment, right? I think the moment is right, but now is to ensure that we have the right skill set so that we can actually match them to our clients.
So one last question: what advice or encouragement do you have for aspiring female entrepreneurs?
Okay, so I think what I would actually say at this period in time, right, is really be bold, right, and just take that first step out, right? Because I think right now, I'm not sure if it's for you as well as for you as well, right? But it seems a lot of people seems to be quite worried and anxious about what is to come, right? But the truth of the fact is, even if you are worried, right, it will come. Right? It's not something that you can wish that it will go away, right? It is here already and it's here to stay. So I think the only thing that we all can do right now is really to see what are the changes we can do within ourselves, right? And then refresh ourselves to meet the new challenges, because the new challenges is coming, right? That's for sure. So we have to be prepared for it. So any advice, the advice is really, get ready, right, for the new challenge and love yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
How about yourself, Fanny?
Well, I think the encouragement or advice that I like to give aspiring female entrepreneurs is find your support network. Yeah, it's important because when Jayce and I started out, we met so many mentors. I mean, not mentors in name, but here and there are people who are so so generous with their advice and tips, and they really give you a guiding hand. So don't be afraid to ask for help. If you ask for help, people will give it to you. I think a lot of times Singaporeans don't know how to ask for help. So a lot of people will kind of leave you alone. That's because they think that you're alright. But if you say that, hey, I'm starting out, I need my first client, I need my first customer, can you buy something from me, buy my service, people are more than happy to help. I find it, I found out recently. Yeah.
So that is actually good, right? So just to add on there, right? So what is that one piece of advice that you have received from all those mentors that you feel that is the most valuable to you?
The most valuable one is solve your client's problem. So if they give you a video project, for example, their problem is not because I want a video project. No, their problem is always because they want to sell their products, for example. So you have to help them to solve the problem of selling the product and not just supply a video. So if you come from that aspect of helping them to make sure this video will solve their problem of selling their product, and then the collaboration is deeper, and then more often than not you find that the clients may return for second business. Even if not, then they will remember you as a different vendor. Yeah.
Right. So for me, the one piece of advice that I received very, very early on was actually this phrase, right? Things always happen for a reason.
Okay.
Right. So if it happens and in the end you fail, right, then don't beat yourself up too hard, because it happens for a reason. It happened for you to learn to do it better. So I think that piece of advice has actually stayed with me for the last 8 years, right? Really, when things doesn't go as you plan, right? So sometimes you don't need to be too hard on yourself. Of course, if it's your fault, then you cannot blame anybody lah. But if it's really, you have tried your best already, right? So that is something that you can learn out of it. So I guess that is the greatest advice that I have received. Yeah. All right.
So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to our show, Freelance Creative Exchange.
Check out our Freelance Creative Exchange website and join our CreativesAtWork community on Facebook and Instagram.
Have a wonderful week. Be kind, stay safe, and we'll chat soon.
Bye, everyone.